Say hi.
Hi.
I'm Amber Rodriguez, and you're watching the Recount Podcast.
When in it, an unbelievable weight that you might hate, but you can't even.
Dang, high pass, we find that drag ball at.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. You could call me your Sherpa, but like every Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you have. So it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. Today, we have the man from SWF, IWA, Titan Championship Wrestling, SAW, Wrestle Pro, CZW, PWM. He is the pub bully, the big deal, Craig Steele.
Wow, I've been a lot of places.
You gotta do the research, though, man. You gotta let people know.
This is a little deal, Austin Steele, on my shoulder because he's always next to me.
Hey, let's go. What's up?
You go play? Go play with your toys. All right.
All right, man. But yo, first question right off the jump is who's Craig Steele?
Craig Steele is a veteran of many years of pro wrestling. Married with 2 kids, get the whole normal everyday life. But I also am a gentleman's club manager as my full-time job. So I have a lot of hats that I wear.
Understood. I know, like I've been peeping your IG page, and I was like, very lucrative business. It looks like
It pays the bills.
Pays the bills. That's what.
It's me in wrestling here.
Bet, man. So we met at SWF a few weeks ago, and our listeners, when they see this, they're gonna be like, oh, okay. But yeah, man, like I was taking photos and stuff like that, but legitimately I saw your match and I was like, dude, I have to get this guy on the show because, one, your merch table looked so fly. And then 2, I was like, this dude backs up like everything that he's like presenting, right? Because one thing that I've kind of noticed through like wrestling is that you could talk a big game, but if you don't back it up, you look like false advertisement. But you're not that guy, like, and that's why I was like, man, I gotta bring him on the show and talk to him about like how you were able to, one, like kind of play out everything that you've done, and then also like how you've come up with your character and like how you've developed everything throughout your time.
Well, to be totally honest, it's not really a character. It's what you see is what you get with me. The guy that's in the ring, the guy that's on the microphone, the guy that's talking to people, wrestling, that's just another extension of my reality. A lot of guys are, they come in, let's say a guy says he's a plumber, or he says, he's a garbage man or whatever, like whatever character they portray. I'm a gentleman's club manager. That's right. That's right. Nikos Ricos is a garbage man. I am what I say I am. I'm the big deal. I've lived this lifestyle for many years. Everything I say, I mean. It comes off sincere because it is sincere. It's my actual person. It's who I am. So, when I cut my promos or, the style, that I wear, or the style that I talk, or the way I carry myself, that's legitimately who I am. So that's why, when you say, I back up what I say, I am what I say. So, it's who I am.
And that's awesome, because I do hear about like a lot. Like I know there's other people out there who like they portray one style, but then like I hear like audiences connect most with people who are just like authentically themselves because they can relate to those people. And like one of the things like I've like started to like kind of pick and try to pull, right, is when I first started like getting into the sport, I used to try to be like this like hardcore, like this is who I am, pay attention to me. And I realized like it just wasn't connecting with me. And if it's not connecting with me, obviously it's not going to connect with them.
So if you're not if you're not comfortable, you know, saying what you're saying or acting like you're acting, like in this wrestling business, this, you know, it's a show, you know. There's a lot of people that pretend like there's something, or they say, oh, I care about these things, or I'm better than you because of this, or this is, you know, this is how I live my life. So, you know, so that's how I'm going to be on TV, or I'm going to be in a ring. But the majority of these people, you know, you can see a guy say, oh, I'm a vegan, and I'm, you know, and I care about the environment, but then they're smoking cigarettes and eating cheeseburgers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're not comfortable, if what you say when you're talking to the people or acting out the way you do, if you're not comfortable, you know, if you don't believe what you're saying, nobody else is going to believe you. You know what I mean? So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm this street fighter, and I'm gonna kick your ass and this and that. But if in real life, if you ain't never been in a real fight in your life, why is Joe Schmo sitting in the second row gonna believe that you're gonna kick some dude's ass if you ain't never kicked no dude's ass before?
Right.
You can't come off as hard if you're not hard.
Right.
You won't come off as genuine. And, you know, the grassroots to the root of this whole thing is, if you're not genuine and believable, nobody's going to care what you're doing in there. Nobody's going to get behind you. Nobody's going to boo you. Nobody's going to cheer you. If you get no reaction, that means they don't believe anything you're saying.
Yeah. And that was like a problem like I had when I first like started running into this. And I remember my trainer pulling me to the side, and he's like, I can see that you're struggling to try to get this across. He's like, so what do you like to do? And let's get that. And I was like, well, really, because I was a veteran, right? Like I was in the military, like people just automatically assume like you get to these military dudes, they're like, we're very, you know, stoic, very front and center. And I was like, that's not me. And so we changed things, right? And we brought me out. And so like the person that you see like off camera is the same person that you see in the ring, like just out there loud, talks a lot of shit. Like this is just who I am. And I started to notice that more people were connecting with that, because obviously it's relatable. And I was like, good. And I just keep amping it up now. So I was like, I genuinely saw like the difference, and it was like overnight. I was like, I'm gonna keep pushing this. So I just,
if you're in the military, it's a great thing. But if you're, you know, like there's people that are in the military and they live, eat, and breathe, and die, drill sergeant, and, you know, serious combat, you know, all that. But if you're in the military and you didn't get broke by the system, you're not gonna portray that. You're not gonna feel that, you know. So you're gonna you gotta let your stuff come out, and you'll know when you hit the right stride, you get the right feeling, because you're gonna relax and you're not gonna get all stressed out, and you're not gonna be worried about what you're saying. You're just gonna say it. Like, get in the ring. If I'm cutting a promo, I don't write down what I'm gonna say. I don't think about what I'm gonna say. I grab the microphone and then I say what I think. You know, and that's how I think the best way to go about it is. I don't think you have to, you don't have to be, frozen and, thinking straight. I need to get this point across. I need to do this. I need to do that. You don't need to do any of that stuff. You just gotta let it flow. And once you let it flow, the people they'll believe you, and it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, and yeah, and I'm still building and still working on it. And it's getting there, right? And it's funny because one of my other friends, he was like, dude, he's like, just in the 3-month time span that I've had to mess around and play a lot more, he was like, you definitely see a path, and you're just walking your path. And he's like, you definitely understand where you're at in this system. So,
yeah, man.
It's cool
when you're in what you're doing, once you're comfortable in who you are, it'll make it a lot easier, you know. And you're getting comfortable. That's the most important part. Once you're comfortable, you go out there, you can perform, you can get in the ring, you can have, you know, great matches, and you can tell a good story, and you can, you know, feel that connection. And there's nothing better. The best part of wrestling to me is when you get that connection with the people where you can feel their energy and they're with you. There's nothing worse than wrestling when you feel nothing.
Right.
That's
like, it's funny you mentioned that, man, because there's something like I remember hearing on Eric Bischoff's TED Talk where he was talking about like whether people boo you or they cheer you, like business is good. He's like,
it's a reaction.
Yeah. When you don't have that reaction is when it's like the biggest issues.
When you don't get it, there's nothing worse than nothing. You know, if they're booing you, if they're cheering you, they care. If they don't say nothing and they're just sitting on their hands, they don't care. That means you're not doing your job.
Right.
Right, Austin?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about some other reactions that people might have for you. So what's been like one of the worst bumps you've taken?
A few years ago, I'm gonna say like 5 years maybe, it was a PWS show at Starland Ballroom in Old Bridge. The place was packed. It was a multi-man match. It had a bunch of guys, you know, like, and I took a Tower of Doom superplex off the top.
What?
I'm down. You want to come downstairs with me?
No.
He don't want to stay with me. Hold on one second. He wants to stay up here because he's playing. All right. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So I took this Tower of Doom, and it was when we landed, the first two guys on the bottom landed first, and then I landed second. So when they landed, the ring was on the way back up. So when I hit, it was like a brick, like I hit a brick wall. You know, and at that time I was probably I was 350 pounds.
Oh no.
And when I landed, I was like, man, this sucked. And then, but in my mind, I was, you know, my adrenaline was going. I felt, you know, I didn't even think about it. And then when I settled down that night, I locked up, my whole body locked up. That was probably the worst. Or to be honest, you know, another one that really stinks. Nothing like when I was just starting out, I would do like the street fights or whatever. And I took we were on the floor, and all I did was take a punch from a dude on the floor, and I took a flat back on the floor. But I took I drove myself through the ground like it was in the ring, flat back, because I didn't know any better. And that knocked everything out of me on that one. Those are probably the ones I remember the most, of just like, man. But I've had like, you know, I blew my knee out in the ring. I blew my shoulder out in the ring. I had concussions, all that stuff. But like those, just one boom. Those were probably the ones that hurt the worst.
Yeah, it's always the ones that like that instant. Like that's why I love asking this question. I get asked like the same question, but I'll get like 100 different answers. And like, and as soon as someone sees it, they're like, oh, and then like one clicks and they tell me about it. And I'm like, that's how you know, like, it 100% sucked.
Oh, and then you like peeing blood later in the night, and you're like, man, that just sucked. Those are the ones, man. I try to avoid those like the plague. If I'm taking a bump on the floor, like, you know, I try to, if I do like, let's say I do a dive or something, you can brace your own fall and all that stuff. So if you're missing a dude, you can still get your arms out there. You can still tuck and roll. But when you take a straight, hard, flat back bump on the concrete, that was miserable. Miserable.
Yeah. So aside from that, then let's change it to the next part of it, right? So if that's the worst bump, what's the hardest you've been hit?
I'm gonna say I was 19. I did a WXW show in Pennsylvania, the old Samoans shows, and I was booked in like a 6-man tag, and then at the end of the night there was a cage match, and we had to do a run-in on the cage match, and Samu hit me with a chair shot, and it was I think it was like 1998, 1999, when everybody was just getting creamed, and you didn't think about concussions or none of that stuff.
Right.
Didn't put my hands up or nothing. I just ate it. I ate that chair shot, and that was whew. I remember I was like, I'm in the back, and my buddy's like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I drove home completely concussed. I drove like 2 hours from Allentown to where I was living, head spinning. That'll stick with me forever. That was, you ever take an unprotected chair shot from a Samoan, you'll know what I mean.
Nah, man. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, trust me. Even like he wasn't taking liberties, or he wasn't doing like, it was a straight chair shot. I knew it was coming. He knew he was throwing it. It was, it was what it was. It was that time, that era of wrestling.
Right.
Man, and I, back then you just eat it, go in the back, you said, "Thank you, sir." You get your payday or whatever, drive home, and you man up. You don't pretend like nothing, like it didn't hurt, Man, that sucked.
All right, well, let's talk about stuff that happens post-match, right? So what's been like one of your favorite post-match meals to like go out to a show? Like if you have to have that one match or that one snack or meal, what is it?
Like now that I'm like getting in shape and I'm losing weight, I'm smaller than I was, and I'm, in the gym and I'm training and I'm, eating healthy and whatever. My favorite thing to do after post match is eating a nice chocolate chip cookie. Give me a soft chocolate chip cookie after a show. That's all I need. I don't got to go out drinking with the boys no more. I don't got to go, party and any of that stuff. Just give me a nice chocolate chip cookie. Best part about Rahway Rec Center, which is the home of Wrestling Pro, was back in the day, was Jersey All Pro, and then it was PWS. And for years, we've been in that building. I've wrestled dozens of matches in that building, and their snack stand always had those soft chocolate chip cookies. And I would always get a little pack of cookies after a match. And my buddy Mario Bocara that's my dude. We would sit there and we would eat one of those cookies.
Yeah, me.
You too, right? Yeah.
I wait.
And we'd sit there like, it's cookie time.
Yes.
Cookie time.
I feel like that's like, because like I'm by all means, like I'm not a spring chicken by any means, right? But like it is something about like a good dessert, like especially after a wrestling show, that just like hits the spot and lets me know like, hey, we about to enjoy this ride home.
I'm not a big ice cream guy or any of that. Give me a nice chocolate chip cookie. I'm good. That's all I need. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like I know recently, like we were in Delaware and we were driving home, and we stopped over at like Wawa's. I remember walking in and like I grabbed like a quick meal because I didn't eat anything all day. And I remember like the last thing I left in the car, my buddy's like, "Well, what are you gonna do first?" And I was like, I left the sub, right? And I just grabbed I think it was like a rainbow cookie or something like that. And just opened it and just started mowing down on it. And he's like, "Why are you eating a cookie first?" I was like, "Listen, we're driving. If a car decides that wants to come head on with us and hit us, at least I want to know that the last thing I ate was the best thing I picked out."
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna add to that. I got food stories. One of my best friends in the world is Danny Moff. All right. He's my son. He's Austin's godfather, the little guy. That's his godfather. And anytime he would do a show in Brooklyn, there's a sandwich shop in Bay Ridge called Leone's, right? So if you're ever in Brooklyn, I think it's on like 3rd Avenue or something. There's a sandwich shop called Leone's, and they make these big like sub sandwiches with like the chicken cutlet and the prosciutto and the mozzarella and all that stuff. We would always stop in there on the way in, get a sandwich, wrestle, and then eat one of those sandwiches. And I'll tell you what, it was great, but it's packed with like garlic and pesto. So then, after a hard match, eat one of those sandwiches, and then you're driving home, you get the bubble guts.
Yeah.
It tastes good going in, But that's another one that's a big favorite of mine. Leone's in Brooklyn. If you're from Brooklyn, you know Leone's.
And then you start burping, you just feel like all of it come back up.
No burps.
Yeah. All right, man. So my other question now, right, is just kind of, it's one I like asking a lot of wrestlers is, what's been like one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn, like in the sport?
Hardest lesson you learn in the sport: you got a lot of acquaintances, you don't got a lot of friends. You can't trust anybody. Don't trust nobody, because the guy that you think is your boy, you know, would be the first guy to jump up if you messed up and lost your spot. They're the first guy that would jump into your grave and get it. So you can't trust anybody. They'll do what they, a lot of people in this business are untrustworthy. You got to be careful what you say, what you do, how you act. When I was a kid, you make a lot of dumb kid mistakes. You make a lot of dumb errors, and you trust the wrong people, and you get heat with certain people, and that's, it's going to happen. So you keep your nose straight, keep your ears open, keep your mouth shut, and don't get too comfortable with anybody, because you're gonna run into issues. That's a big one. And then you get butthurt, or your feelings get hurt because you really think you're friends with somebody, and then they end up, they turn out to not be that close of a friend to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, like we could chop shop like afterwards. I get your opinion about some things. But so with that being like one of the hardest lessons you've had learned, what's one of the best advice that you would give to up and coming wrestlers?
Work hard. Don't get a big head in regards to what you do. Don't, you're gonna have people that are gonna put that battery in your back and make, tell you you're great and tell you you're this or tell you that. Don't ever believe the hype. Keep working hard. Stay focused and humble. Those are the most important things I think you can do. And never turn down an opportunity. Always, work hard. If you're the guy that's there to help clean up or put chairs away or whatever, do all that stuff. Take the advice from the veterans. Super important. If you got like a long vet, it doesn't have to be like a guy that was on TV, but if you got a guy that's been in the wrestling business 10, 15 years, he might never have been famous, but get his opinion on things. Ask him to watch your match. Ask him to tell you the things that you need to work on, things that you're good at, that you can grow with, things that you maybe should stop doing, those things are helpful. I still to this day, I'll be like, can you watch my match and let me know what you think about this particular sequence of moves or whatever, or this spot that I thought of, or this transition. Get the opinion of as many people as possible, because your idea, of something that, that makes sense or is cool, somebody that's been in the business a long time might look at that and be like, it's too much, or it doesn't make sense for, what you're doing or who you are.
Right.
So get that, get as many people to watch your stuff as you can. I'm not the guy that says go around and shake everybody's hand, and you don't have to do all that. Be polite to everybody. Don't be rude to anybody. Don't act better than anybody. Because the kid that 155-pound kid that, has ripped gear and doesn't have any kind of, can't cut a promo, or is just starting out, that dude could be, your ticket to something big in the future. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Never feel like you're better than anybody. Those are some things that, that I carry with myself.
I like that. I like it a lot. I mean, it's the cool thing about like the wrestling side of everything is when you ask a question like that, man, it's just good life advice as well. Like,
yeah, it's anything. Just be a good person.
Be a good person.
Don't be a phony. Do what, don't do that. You're gonna break my thing. My son's over here breaking collectibles, which they're not even like wrestling toys. They're like my baseball collectibles. You're gonna break my stuff. I'm gonna get mad. They're not toys to play with. Look, he's got wrestling. He's got baseball players, and he's breaking. Put them back in their things. That's what my son does. He tears my shit up. Yeah, bedtime. So you get ready.
All right, so then let me ask you, man. Seeing that you've been around for a long time, you've probably been to a lot of different locker rooms. So I just need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Don't smell. Wash your gear. Wash your ass. Wear deodorant. Don't be the smelly guy. Don't take somebody's chair if there's shits on it. Don't, those are the don'ts, be polite, ask for advice, don't touch anybody's stuff. Don't go in anybody's gear. Don't rib people in malicious ways. Don't mess with anybody's stuff that they spent their hard-earned money for, things like that. Don't do. Yeah. But like I said, be polite. I like to have a good time. I'm not the kind of guy that is. Oh, I'm not going to be serious and just focus on my match. And I'm gonna focus on my match, but I'm gonna have a good time because it's my escape. I'm there to have a good time. I'm gonna have fun. Have a good time. Make the locker room as light as possible, but do it in a polite way. Those things I like to do.
I like that. I like that a lot. So those are really like the heavy hitting questions and topics that we talk about. But we got to come to the second best segment of the 3 Count podcast. People ask me what's the first. It's a Red Dog Power Ranks that you can find every Sunday on our debate show. But this is the 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. Big deal. This is how it works, man. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
All right.
So,
we'll
put on the imaginary timer for added pressure.
All right.
And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Shit. Pass. I go back to that.
Okay. X-Men or Avengers?
Avengers.
Favorite color?
Black.
So I'm changing this question that I wrote down here. I could tell you after show what it is, but I got to know, man, the 95 Braves or the 2021 Braves?
Oh, the 2021 Braves, because we didn't blow. Listen, we had five chances to win it before. This was a complete surprise. 2021 Braves all day.
Favorite vehicle?
Cadillac Escalade.
Hey. A golden ale or an IPA?
Golden ale. I don't drink that IPA shit.
Favorite podcast?
I like the Jim Cornette podcast. I like that.
Nominate one person that you want to see on the show.
On your show?
Yeah.
Shit. I'd like to see New Jersey legend Judas Young on your show.
Okay. So we'll go back to this one before we ask the last question. Favorite movie?
All right, favorite movie. I'm gonna go with Goodfellas.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask everybody, and you can censor yourself if you choose to, but favorite curse word?
Oh shit. Earmuffs. Earmuffs. What's your favorite bad word, Austin?
Shut up.
Shut up.
I like it. Well, those are all my heavy hitting questions. So the last thing I just need from you is to let all of our viewers and listeners know where they can find you.
All right. So this weekend, Friday night, I will be at the ISPW in Totowa, New Jersey's PAL. I'll be in action. I'll be in the Rumble to determine the new ISPW heavyweight champion. Saturday night, which is what's that? The 23rd?
Yeah.
Maybe Saturday night I'm in Toms River, New Jersey for Titan Championship Wrestling. And then I have December 6th. No, December 4th. I'm sorry. December 4th, I'm in Nutley, New Jersey at the Nutley Knights of Columbus, for IWA Wrestling. I'll be defending my IWA Breakthrough Championship against Chris Barton, who's a nice young up-and-coming big man. So that's my newest stuff. And this Friday night, after the ISPW event, you guys can come down to Taboo Men's Club in Linden, where we have our bartender Go-Go-Rama. So that's the big party this Friday night as well. So you want to come meet the big deal, have a beer with me or whatever. After the ISPW show, come down to Linden. You can see me at Taboo.
And there you have it, where you can find the man himself. So, like I said, this is we gotta take this home. All right. So that means this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. And like I said, I am your Sherpa, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But it's never about me. It's always about who's entering the ring, because every good Sherpa has a greater Sherpa who will show them what they can do, how they can get better, and they can do it more efficiently. So it is here. He is here. The big deal, Craig Steele, right there. You guys see him, and you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for the outro, and then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace.
Do it.
Hey, 3 Count Podcast listeners, it's your host, the icon Chaz Evans here. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. That's the Facebook, that's the Twitter, that's the Instagram, that's the Snapchat. Wait, we don't have Snapchat. We don't have Photo Bucket. But make sure you follow us on all those things at 3 Count Podcast or at 3count_pod. That's on the Twitter, by the way, 3count_pod. But yeah, definitely also make sure you check out our YouTube channel and subscribe to our videos. And if you really like us a lot, definitely go find us on ProWrestlingTees.com/3CountPod and get yourself a 3 Count Podcast t-shirt. And make sure you continue listening to us.